Okay, so get this. We're diving deep today into NASA's Moon to Mars objectives.
Hmm.
And it's not just about, planting a flag and coming back.
Right.
We're talking about, like, actually staying there long haul, making ourselves at home on the Moon, Mars, the whole shebang.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just a quick visit this time. It's about establishing a real, sustained human presence.
Sustained. So we're picturing, like, lunar bases,
Yeah.
Martian colonies, the works.
That's the idea. NASA even calls it, and I quote, a blueprint for sustained human presence and exploration throughout the solar system.
Okay, all right. Throughout the solar system, now you're speaking my language. But gotta be honest, I've heard big space plans before.
I get it.
What makes you think this time it's, actually going to stick?
You're right to be skeptical. It's healthy. Remember back in '89, the Space Exploration Initiative? Big promises went nowhere. The difference this time is they're ditching the old way of doing things. Go as you pay, they called it.
It basically means,
Which basically meant making it up as they went along, right? Budget changes, political whims, the whole plan went out the window. This time, though, it's different. It's objective-driven, focused on the long game, making a plan tough enough to survive anything.
so no more getting distracted by the latest shiny object in space. They're really buckling down for the long haul.
Precisely. They have a strategy this time, something they call architecting from the right.
Architecting from the right. Okay, that sounds kind of like building a rocket backwards, doesn't it?
It's a bit counterintuitive, yeah. Imagine this. Instead of starting with the rocket, you start with, say, a thriving Martian colony, right?
Okay.
You ask, what's life like on Mars day to day? What are the challenges people face? What does a self-sustaining Martian community need? And then, and only then, you work backwards, step by step, figuring out each piece of the puzzle to make that vision a reality.
So instead of just saying, we're going to Mars, they're breaking it down, starting with the end goal and figure out the how-to from there.
Exactly. It's about anticipating the challenges before they pop up, creating a roadmap fit to handle the unexpected.
Gotta admit, that's pretty clever. Like planning a cross-country road trip. You don't just hop in the car and go right. You gotta map your route, pack the essentials, figure out where you're gonna stop for snacks.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But for those of us who aren't astronauts, who don't have Martian colonists on our resumes, why should we care about all of this? Give me the elevator pitch, the thing that makes people say, tell me more. Honestly, the whole architecting from the right thing, it's like kind of blown my mind a little.
It's a game changer. And the best part is it's not just about, the logistics. It's about the big picture, too.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this in the first place? What's the ultimate goal?
Okay, so we're talking about more than just how to build a rocket or get to Mars. We're talking about the why, the purpose behind it all.
Exactly. And NASA has defined that purpose through what they call the 3 pillars: science, inspiration, and national posture. Think of them as like the driving forces behind every decision, every objective.
Okay, science, inspiration, national posture. I'm not gonna lie, it sounds a bit formal, like something out of a government report.
Right. Not exactly the catchiest titles, I'll admit. But trust me, they're much cooler than they sound. Imagine this. Holding a piece of the moon in your hand, like actual moon dust. Right?
Yeah, I'm picturing it. Go on.
And it's whispering secrets about the birth of the solar system, secrets we could never even dream of uncovering here on Earth. That's the power of the science pillar. It's about using the moon and Mars as, cosmic laboratories, unlocking mysteries hidden for billions of years. Like, one objective, LPS-1LM, is all about studying lunar samples to understand how the moon formed in the first place.
Okay, now that's just cool. Unlocking secrets of the solar system, I'm in. But it's not all about just looking back in time, right? There's got to be some relevance to us here on Earth today.
Absolutely. Take objective LPS-4M, for example. They're actually looking at Mars's climate to help us understand and combat climate change right here on Earth.
Whoa, hold on. Are you saying that by studying Mars, we might find solutions to one of the biggest challenges facing our planet today? That's incredible.
That's the beauty of space exploration. It has this incredible way of coming back to benefit us in ways we never expected.
Okay, you definitely got my attention. But what about this inspiration pillar? It sounds a bit fuzzy, like how do you even measure inspiration?
It might sound a bit intangible, but it's actually incredibly important. Remember watching those space shuttle launches as a kid?
Oh, yeah. I wanted to be an astronaut so bad.
Exactly. That sense of wonder, that feeling that anything is possible, that's what the inspiration pillar is all about. It's about igniting that same spark in the next generation, showing them that science and engineering aren't just subjects in a textbook, they're tools to explore the universe.
So it's not just about getting kids excited about space. It's about inspiring the next generation of scientists, engineers, and dreamers who will actually make this vision a reality.
You got it. And don't forget, the Apollo missions, they didn't just put humans on the moon. They led to advancements in everything from like telemedicine to like software engineering technology we use every day.
Right, right. It's like those advancements have had a ripple effect, shaping the world we live in today. Okay, I'm sold on inspiration. But then there's this national posture pillar. And I gotta say, that one sounds a bit, well, a bit jargony. Like, what does that even mean?
It does sound a bit vague, I'll give you that. But it's actually about something really crucial, ensuring that all of this entire endeavor benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Okay, I like the sound of that. But how do they plan to make sure that actually happens? We've heard promises about space exploration leading to technological advancements and economic growth before, right?
You're right to be cautious, and NASA's learned from the past. This time, they're being much more proactive and transparent, building accountability right into the plan.
All right, I'm all ears. How are they doing that?
One key aspect is their commitment to international collaboration. It's not just about, working alongside other space agencies. It's about creating a truly global framework for cooperation, sharing knowledge, resources, expertise. They even did like a whole workshop with the UK Space Agency focused entirely on Moon to Mars objectives and how to tackle them together.
So less about a space race and more about like a global space team effort.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that the challenges of space exploration are just too big, too complex for any one nation to solve on their own. We need a global spacefaring community.
Now that's a future I can get behind.
Yeah.
But space exploration is expensive, right?
Yeah.
How do they plan to pay for all this, especially with the whole like sustained presence thing? We're talking decades, maybe even centuries.
That's where the national posture pillar gets really interesting. It recognizes that to be sustainable, space exploration can't just be a government-funded endeavor. We need a thriving space economy here on Earth. They're talking about public-private partnerships fostering a whole ecosystem of space-based industries with NASA as the anchor tenant.
Anchor tenant. Okay, now that's a new one. Explain it to me like I'm 5.
Imagine a shopping mall, right? The anchor tenant is like the big department store that draws everyone in.
Okay, I'm with you.
So NASA's job is to create that same kind of pull for space, to generate enough demand for things like lunar power grids, space transportation systems, even Martian habitats, that private companies will be lining up to build them.
Wow, so it's about creating a self-sustaining cycle where the demand for space exploration drives innovation and economic growth, which in turn fuels further exploration.
Exactly. It's about transforming space from this distant frontier into a dynamic new sector of our economy, one where everyone can potentially benefit.
This is starting to feel less like a government program and more like the launch pad for a whole new era of human ingenuity and opportunity.
Exactly. And that's really at the heart of the Moon to Mars objectives. It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible, not just in space, but right here on Earth as well.
It reminds me of that quote, "We didn't set out to discover new continents, but to sail to the East Indies."
Mm.
Sometimes the most profound discoveries happen when we're looking for something else entirely, right? But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We've talked about the why. Now let's get into the what. What are the actual nuts and bolts of these Moon to Mars objectives? What are the specific things they're aiming to achieve? All right, so we've covered the why. Those 3 pillars are super compelling, but what about the how? This whole Moon to Mars thing is massive. How do they even begin to organize something of this scale?
Well, they've definitely got a system, and it starts with something called recurring tenets.
Recurring tenets. Sounds kind of serious.
It's not as intimidating as it sounds. Think of them like guiding principles, the non-negotiables that underpin every single objective, like the fundamental rules of the road, but, for space.
Okay, so like don't contaminate Mars, that kind of thing.
That's one of them. Planetary protection is a biggie, but we're also talking about things like prioritizing crew safety, making sure this whole thing is sustainable long-term, not just a one-off mission. And of course, maximizing those public-private partnerships we talked about.
Right, got to get those private companies in on the action.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, how do these recurring tenets actually play out in real life? Give me an example.
Let's take 2 that might seem similar at first, but are actually quite distinct. RT1, that's international cooperation, and RT2, public-private partnerships.
Okay, yeah, on the surface, they both sound like working together,
Yeah.
but I'm sensing there's a bit more to it than that.
You got it. International cooperation, that's about the whole world coming together, right?
Yeah.
Sharing resources, expertise, even doing joint missions. It's about recognizing that space exploration, it's bigger than any one country. We're all in this together.
Makes sense to me. A global space team effort. But what about these public-private partnerships? We touched on it before, but I'd love to hear more about how that actually works in practice.
Remember how we talked about NASA being the anchor tenant in this new space economy? That's where this really comes into play. NASA can't shoulder this alone. They need private companies to innovate, to create a self-sustaining ecosystem in space.
So it's about more than just like giving contracts to private companies. It's about fostering a whole new sector, right?
Right.
Where going to space is as normal as, well, maybe not flying to Paris, but definitely more common than it is now.
Exactly. Imagine a future where private companies are competing to build the best lunar rovers, the most efficient Martian habitats, all because there's a demand for it. That's the kind of future NASA's trying to create.
Okay, I'm convinced these recurring tenets are pretty brilliant. But with all these principles and partnerships, I almost forgot, what are the actual objectives? What are they actually trying to do?
They've got it all laid out, divided into four main categories: science, infrastructure, transportation and habitation, and operations. We're talking about everything from fundamental research to, like, figuring out how to live on another planet.
Wow, they really thought of everything, huh? But don't leave me hanging. Give me the highlights. What are some of the most interesting objectives, the ones that'll really blow people's minds?
Well, I know you're a science buff, so buckle up. Objective LPS-4M, that's their designation for the search for past life on Mars.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
They're actually looking for Martians. Okay, this just got real.
But it's not all about little green men. HBS-1LM, that one's all about figuring out how humans can not just survive, but actually thrive during long-duration space flights.
Right, because what good is a Martian colony if you can't, like, grow potatoes or something? We got to figure out how to actually live out there.
Exactly. They're playing the long game here. And speaking of long-term thinking, Objective PPS-1L is particularly cool. They want to turn the moon into a giant observatory.
Whoa, a lunar observatory. Now that's thinking outside the box, or should I say planet. Imagine the things we can see from there.
Right. It's about using the unique environment of space to push the boundaries of astronomy. And the best part is this whole plan, it's not set in stone. They're constantly reviewing progress, adapting to new discoveries, new challenges. It's a living, breathing roadmap, not just some dusty old document.
So they're kind of like building the spaceship as they fly it.
In a way, yeah. It's about acknowledging that we don't have all the answers,
Okay.
that there will be surprises along the way, but that's part of the excitement. It's about embracing the unknown, knowing that each challenge we overcome, each discovery we make brings us one step closer to making this incredible vision a reality.
Well, you've definitely convinced me that the future of space exploration is looking pretty bright. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive into NASA's Moon to Mars objectives. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired right now.
Anytime. It's always a pleasure to talk about this stuff.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. Until next time, keep looking up.